Hello, Wildcats. Doubted and disregarded. Colin Chandler's decisive rise silences the skeptics. He has the decisive shot the Wildcats need. We'll talk more about the blue team, but first, subscribe to the channel. Few paths in college basketball are linear, and Colin Chandler is becoming one of the clearest examples of this in the current Kentucky basketball season. Questioned, often disregarded, and the target of impatience at times, the young point guard responded in the most forceful way possible, showing up when the game gets tough, when the clock is ticking, and when the Wildcats most need someone willing to take responsibility. Chandler is still going through a rebuilding process. After 2 years away from competitive basketball following his Mormon mission, he returned to an environment that doesn't usually offer room for error or excessive time for adaptation. The label of former top 40 player from the 2022 class brought immediate expectation, but also pressure. Amidst natural fluctuations, some fans and external analysts began to question whether he could regain the confidence and impact that projected him as one of the great names of his generation. What the last few games showed is that talent was never the problem. It was just a matter of time, context, and confidence. In the historic comeback against LSU, after Kentucky rallied from an 18-point deficit, Chandler was at the center of the final decision. With just over a second on the clock, Mark Pope designed the play and entrusted him with the inbounds pass. It wasn't a random choice. Chandler executed a precise long pass to Malachi Moreno, who converted the decisive shot from the free throw line. It wasn't a shot, but it was a winning play, one that requires composure and mental clarity. Chandler finished that night with solid numbers, shooting efficiency, and, above all, direct participation in the moment that sealed the victory. A few days later, the script seemed cruelly familiar. Against Tennessee, away from home, Kentucky again struggled in the first half and fell behind by 17 points to a more rested and physically intense opponent. Once again, however, Mark Pope's team didn't give up. The comeback was built possession by possession until the game entered its final moments balanced, exactly the kind of scenario that separates ordinary players from those who accept the weight of the decision. With less than a minute on the clock and Kentucky trailing by 1 point, Chandler appeared where few others do, on defense. He read the play, anticipated Tennessee's indirect screen, and secured a crucial steal. Instead of forcing something individual, he made the correct read and found Otega Owa at speed for the layup that put the Wildcats ahead for the first time. It was a play that doesn't appear as often in highlights as a buzzer-beating three-pointer, but it changes games and seasons. Chandler would do even more. Even after missed free throws and a desperate last-minute attempt by Tennessee, Kentucky held firm to secure another improbable comeback. In the end, Chandler totaled 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 steals, with a very high perimeter shooting percentage. These numbers reflect commitment, confidence, and a real impact on both ends of the court. Kentucky's collective momentum is directly linked to this evolution. With 3 consecutive wins and a 12-6, 3-2 record in the SEC, the team is beginning to climb out of a hole that seemed deep just a few weeks ago. The upcoming home games against Texas and Ole Miss represent a clear opportunity for consolidation before a tough away stretch against Arkansas and Vanderbilt. To navigate this part of the season with ambition, Kentucky needs exactly what Colin Chandler has been offering: courage in the big moments. Mark Pope has been consistent in advocating for the growth of his young players, even under external pressure. The confidence placed in Chandler in decisive moments is not just an emotional gamble, but a clear understanding of who is prepared to make the difference. College basketball isn't just about accumulated statistics, but about plays that change the course of balanced games. Chandler is beginning to build that identity. Perhaps the biggest lesson from this moment is simple and necessary. Young players need time. Colin Chandler is proving that discarding him too early was a mistake. He not only rediscovered his shot, but began influencing victories with intelligence, defense, and personality. In a team still seeking consistency, having someone with the gift of decision-making can be the difference between surviving the season or transforming it into something greater. And Chandler, game after game, is making it clear that this role doesn't weigh too heavily on him. Kentucky's victory over Tennessee was one of those moments where college sports transcend numbers and tactics to reveal something deeper, the soul of a team. It wasn't just a game won. It was a battle won through resilience, grit, and an unwavering belief in the possibility of overcoming adversity. And Mark Pope, with his balanced and deeply human approach, finally began to glimpse the beating heart of this Wildcats team. At halftime, when Tennessee fans were still singing Rocky Top with renewed enthusiasm, the situation seemed hopeless. The Vols' dominance in the paint, the Wildcats' offensive stagnation, and the 17-point lead Tennessee had built were seemingly insurmountable obstacles. But, as Pope highlighted after the game, it wasn't a tactical adjustment or a drastic change in the game plan that changed the course of the game. It was the mentality. "We simply refuse to lose," he said. That simple but powerful phrase sums up the essence of what is becoming this team's trademark. What Pope saw in the second half was a visceral transformation, but not necessarily a technical one. He observed his players finding within themselves something that went beyond the skills rehearsed in training. It was the collective embodiment of an idea he himself mentioned. Basketball is not mathematics, it's art. And this art was expressed in different ways by each player who stepped onto the court. Let's start with Mohamed Diabate, whose contribution often goes unnoticed in superficial statistics. He wasn't the top scorer, nor the player with the most minutes on the court, but his impact was monumental. The 6 rebounds, especially the 4 offensive ones, were crucial in keeping possessions alive that could have sealed the defeat. His defense against Nate Ament in the decisive moments and his unwavering energy in the paint were the kind of gestures that define games like this. Pope compared him to Steph Curry, but not for his shooting accuracy, but for his grit. "It's the equivalent of Steph Curry having the best shot in the world," said the coach, in the sense that his grit makes him special. This analogy perfectly captures the intangible value that Diabate brought to the team. But Diabate wasn't alone. Denzel Aberdeen emerged as the offensive engine the team needed to break through Tennessee's physical blockade. With 22 points, including a dominant second half, Aberdeen showed he could be the reliable player Kentucky needs in high-pressure situations. His ability to break through the opposing defense and convert difficult shots was a clear demonstration of maturity and self-confidence. As Pope observed, D.A. was unbelievable. And indeed, he was. Colin Chandler, on the other hand, brought a combination of offensive power and defensive cunning. His 12 points, including 3 three-pointers, were complemented by 3 steals, one of them decisive in the final seconds. It was a performance that blended tactical intelligence with sharp instincts, and Pope didn't hold back in praising Chandler, saying he made one of the game-defining steals. More than that, he was the perfect example of how a player can grow under pressure, showing that college basketball is also a school of life. Other names also deserve mention. Jasper Johnson, a freshman playing in a hostile environment against a physical team like Tennessee, scored 12 points and showed that he is beginning to adapt to the competitive level of the SEC. Otega Owa, despite facing difficulties, found ways to contribute, while Colin Chandler's understated leadership helped maintain team cohesion. Each player, in some way, played a role in this thrilling victory. And here's the crucial point. This victory wasn't just about individual talent or tactical execution. It was about the collective. It was about heart. It was about a group of young athletes who, faced with seemingly insurmountable adversity, decided they wouldn't accept defeat. This is the kind of lesson that transcends the score and that Pope seems to be cultivating in his team. He acknowledged that this season has been full of moments like this. Games where Kentucky starts poorly but finds ways to turn the tide. For him, these moments are revealing. We're starting to see what's inside our players, to see a little bit of their hearts, Pope said. This philosophy of seeing basketball as a human and artistic expression is what sets this Kentucky basketball team apart from others. Under Pope's leadership, the Wildcats are learning that success doesn't just come from technical skills or well-executed strategies. It comes from mutual trust, absolute commitment, and the conviction that, together, they can overcome any adversity. The rebuilding of Kentucky football under Will Stein is progressing rapidly, and the latest move on the transfer portal brings with it a piece that could play a crucial role in transforming the Wildcats' defensive line. With the signing of Tyler Thomas, an edge rusher from South Alabama, it's clear the program is willing to invest in talent with the potential to make an immediate and sustainable impact. Thomas, whose resume reflects an upward trajectory from his UAB days to his time in South Alabama, arrives in Kentucky as someone who has already demonstrated the ability to produce significant numbers at important moments. His performance in recent seasons has been marked by consistency and efficiency, especially in terms of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. With 3.5 tackles for loss and 2.5 sacks in 2024, and expected to repeat a similar level of production in 2025, he presents himself as a player who can contribute both to containment and turnover generation, something essential for a defense seeking to reaffirm its identity. The addition of Thomas to the roster is emblematic of the strategic effort that has been conducted in Lexington. He joins a group of 6 transferred players who are being integrated into the defensive line, all under the supervision of defensive coordinator Jay Bateman. This renewal not only injects new energy into the group, but also reflects Will Stein's long-term vision to build a competitive team capable of rivaling the best in the SEC, even amidst considerable challenges. There's an intriguing human element to this transfer that deserves highlighting. Tyler's twin brother, Trent Thomas, is now part of Tennessee, setting up a family clash when Kentucky visits Knoxville in November. This narrative adds a touch of personal drama to the sporting context, but goes beyond mere fraternal rivalry. For Tyler, it's an opportunity to prove his worth on a larger stage while carrying the responsibility of representing a program in transition. It's not just about competing against his brother. It's a chance to cement his place among the names that will help shape the future of Kentucky football. Another relevant aspect of this signing is how it fits into the broader mosaic of changes Kentucky has been making. With over 30 players arriving through the transfer portal this offseason, the program is in the process of reinvention. Even so, the presence of experienced veterans on the roster offers a necessary balance, allowing athletes like Thomas and Antonio Berry, another recent addition, to adapt quickly to the demands of the SEC. This combination of youth and experience is vital to ensuring a smooth transition and that the team is prepared to face high-level opponents. The selection of Tyler Thomas also illustrates Kentucky's commitment to strengthening its defensive trenches. Under Anwar Stewart's leadership, the Wildcats' defensive line seeks to recover the aggressiveness and versatility that have always been hallmarks of the program in recent years. With Thomas competing for the defensive end position, there is an expectation that he will bring not only solid numbers, but also a competitive mentality that inspires his teammates. His ability to force fumbles, coupled with his capacity to generate constant pressure, makes him a valuable asset in a defensive system that needs to be ruthless to thrive in the conference. It's worth noting that this move comes at a critical time for Kentucky. The departure of key players and the need to rebuild the team's core demand calculated decisions and flawless execution. Will Stein, since his arrival, has demonstrated a methodical approach to handling these challenges. The use of the transfer portal as a strategic tool is a clear example of this. Each addition seems to be made with specific intent, seeking to fill gaps and create synergy between different positional groups. Now that the 2026 season is approaching, all eyes will be on how these collective changes translate on the field. Tyler Thomas, with his story of overcoming adversity and determination, embodies much of what Kentucky is looking for in its new phase. Players who not only have talent, but also the right mindset to face increasing challenges. And while there's still work to be done, it's clear that the program is on the right track to reaffirm its position among the leading players in the SEC. I want to hear your opinion now.